Welcome to this BaseSpace Clarity LIMS video. In this video, we're going to talk about the user experience of version 5.0. My name is Kira, and I'm a user experience designer on the LIMS team. So it's my job to make sure that the Clarity interface is intuitive and easy to learn. I do that by designing interaction patterns that are easy to figure out and also consistent across the product. So you can use your brain cells to figure out the complex science you're having to do instead of trying to figure out how to interact with the interface. So in this video, we're going to go over some of the familiar patterns that you've already seen in LIMS, as well as some of the new ones that we've developed for 5.0. So let's start with the navigation. So up here, we have what's called tabbed navigation. Each one of these tabs is an overall category and has subcategories underneath it. So when I click into consumables here, I have the subcategory of reagents already selected. So when an item in this secondary navigation here is selected, it's highlighted with white and it has a pointer down into the relevant content that relates to it. So you might recognize a pretty similar pattern here. We have all of the list items on the left side. When you click on one of them, you have the corresponding digital form on the right side. So this pattern of list on the left and form on the right is very consistent throughout configuration. It's used in all of those upper level entities that you see, consumables, custom fields, users and clients, etc. But it's not really used in the lab work configuration section, so that's where we're going to go next. The lab work navigation represents the hierarchy of the science that you're doing in your lab. So workflows are made from protocols. Protocols are made of steps, and steps are derived from master steps. The navigation itself depicts those parent-child relationships. So when you select either a workflow or a protocol, the children of those entities are brought to the top of the screen. So let's look at workflows for a minute. So here I've selected a workflow. And right away I notice that it has 4 protocols contained within it. I choose to add and remove protocols from the workflow just by hitting this button here. And I can also reorder this protocol as well. The way that you reorder items in a list across configuration is really consistent. Click for more than 1 second on a protocol. It rises up and indicates that I can move it around. So now when I'm moving it around here, the other protocols are kind of getting out of the way. So when I release it down, it lands where I think it's going to land, and it saves instantaneously. So now let's take a look at steps. So here I've selected my bioanalyzer QC DNA 5.0 step. The first form that you end up seeing is the step settings form, and that has really general settings. Another thing you might notice here is that we have inline descriptions located below the heading of the page. And the reason why we put that in is so that you can immediately get context around what you're doing as you're going through configuration. It's not easy to remember the nuances of all of these pieces. So what we did was we put in the information right in the page so you don't have to click out anywhere or Google anything. To read the whole description, you just hit this button here, Read More, and the description will open up for you to read. When you're done, you can say Read Less and you don't have to see all of the description anymore. You can move on. So another key element to this step form that we're looking at is something we haven't yet seen, which is these milestone navigation items here. So these represent the screens that the step will go through as you run the step. On each of these milestones, you're going to have screen-specific settings. Let's go over to placement and check that out. So when I click on it, now I have my placement settings screen. And these are all settings that relate just to the placement screen. One thing we're going to check out is how to add items to a list. So here we have destination containers. But on my bioanalyzer QC step, I don't really want a 96 well plate. So I click on this plus button. So this plus button you will see throughout configuration all over the place whenever you have a list. And a similar reaction will happen. a drawer will open up on the right side, and this has all of the container types that are currently configured in my system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my bioanalyzer DNA 1000 chip. I see that the total has gone up beside the heading here. Now I'm going to press the checkmark button, and one thing that you're going to notice, bioanalyzer DNA 1000 chip is going to appear on that list, and it's going to say added. So we did that in order to distinguish the things that you just did to what you had previously done. The same pattern will apply when you're on the Q view and you're adding fields to display, or you're on the step settings screen and you want to decide which controls are going to be run on that step. They're all lists that you can have multiple items in. So that plus button that you see is always there. So now I'm going to briefly go over how the master step forms work compared to the step forms. So if I pop over here to the master step and go to the placement screen, you'll notice a key difference on this form compared to the form we were just looking at. So one of the key differences is that there aren't any defaults that are set at this level on the master step. Master steps allow you to make a decision in one place on the master step, and they're going to propagate down to the steps that use that master step. So here's a great example, well sort order. So you might be a row lab or you might be a column lab. If you're a row lab, I can set that up here, that my well sort order is going to be row. And then when I pop over to the step and I go onto the placement milestone again, I can see that it's set here and it's locked. So this pattern that you see where you set a master step setting and then you see it on the step with a lock is very consistent throughout configuration. And what that tells you is that you made that decision on the master step and you can't edit it on the step. It will propagate down to all of the steps, so you don't have to go through dozens of times and making that same decision on each step. So thanks very much for watching this BaseSpace Clarity LIMS 5.0 user experience video. A big part of the design rationale included users just like you. So please feel free to give us your feedback on configuration. We'd love to hear what you have to say, and keep your eye out for any sort of user testing opportunities that come your way. Thanks so much.